What was the best movie from 1991? We pulled a group of roughly 450 people to find out what they thought. Stick around to find out which movie took the top spot.
Oh, yeah!
Wow, this is like hella 90s.
Hey 90s kids, welcome back to another episode of Hella 90s. In this episode, we'll be looking at the top 3 movies of 1991. Out of the 450 people that the poll was opened up to, there were 49 responses on a list of 19 movies from 1991. So let's kick this off by seeing what movies didn't make the cut, and then we'll look at the top 3. Bringing up the very, very rear of the pack and receiving 0 votes were JFK, Father of the Bride, My Girl, and Beauty and the Beast. Receiving only 1 vote in the poll were Hot Shots, City Slickers, The Naked Gun 2.5, Hook, The Rocketeer, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and Cape Fear. There were a few others that didn't receive enough votes to be in the top 3, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, sitting just outside the number 3 spot. So that now leaves us with those top 3 spots. Garnering 7 votes in our group poll and receiving an audience score of 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, Point Break holds the number 3 spot on our list of top movies from 1991. Probably the gnarliest movie in our top 3, this hit starred the likes of both Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. This fast-paced undercover cop extravaganza follows football star turned FBI agent Johnny Utah as he infiltrates a group of surfers who are suspected of committing some high-level bank robberies while masked as former U.S. presidents, including Reagan, Nixon, Carter, and LBJ. It's a fun movie, especially if you like movies chock full of both drama and action. As Tim Brayton from Antagony and Ecstasy put it, a nearly flawless marriage of the genre cliches of the classic 80s model cop action picture with the elevated physicality of the 90s action films to come. Fun fact, it's rumored that the film almost saw production as early as 1986, with several other actors considered to take on the role of Utah, including Charlie Sheen, Val Kilmer, Johnny Depp, and Matthew Broderick. Boy, would that have been a very different movie. Point Break went on to rake in roughly $83 million off its budget of $24 million, but took home no film awards unless you count Reeves winning Most Desirable Male at the 1992 MTV Movie Awards. At number 2 on our list, we have one of the most notable psychological thrillers of all time. With 10 votes received from our group poll and a Rotten Tomatoes audience score of 95%, The Silence of the Lambs being second on the list makes a whole lot of sense. Based on the novel of the same name by Thomas Harris, The Silence of the Lambs was released in February of 1991 and follows FBI agent Clarice Starling on her journey to bring to justice serial killer Buffalo Bill, with the help of Hannibal Lecter, a psychiatrist and cannibalistic serial killer. Starring Jodie Foster as Clarice and Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, this thrilling ride is widely considered to be one of the most influential films of all time. Although, it could have been a much, much different flick if it had been cast how director Jonathan Demme had wanted. Originally considered to portray Lecter were actors Daniel Day-Lewis, Dustin Hoffman, Al Pacino, and Sean Connery, with Connery actually being approached about the role but turning it down. The same goes for the role of Clarice, which could have given us a film with Michelle Pfeiffer or Meg Ryan. It seems to have all panned out in the end, though. Jay Carr of the Boston Globe sums it up nicely in his review. Jonathan Demme's Silence of the Lambs has everything you want in a popular thriller. It's stylish, intelligent, audacious rather than shocking, and stolen by a suave monster you'll never forget. The Silence of the Lambs saw great box office success, but not as quickly as one might think. It took a little time for the movie to catch on, but when it did so well. From its $14 million opening weekend to its ending run total of $273 million, the film made a little bit of money, especially considering its budget of $19 million, which is $5,000 less than that of Point Break. I think they can call this one a success. And now, at number 1 on our list of best movies of 1991, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Yes, a sequel holds the top spot in our list, but as you may know, this isn't any sequel. Breaking the norms of sequels usually being giant critical and box office flops, T2 took an already great story and made it even better. From our poll, T2 snagged 12 votes, and it hoists an audience score of 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Starring the cast of the original Terminator and actors Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-800 Terminator and Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor, we were also treated to franchise newcomers Edward Furlong as John Connor and Robert Patrick as our favorite Liquid-esque T-1000. Terminator 2 continues the story of the battle between the artificial intelligence Skynet and humanity. After a failed attempt to kill Sarah Connor and thus prevent the birth of her son John Connor in the first film, the second film sees a new tactic by Skynet to end John Connor as a child instead, this time with the T-1000 Terminator. In defense, John Connor sends another Terminator to the past to protect his younger self. The catch? It looks just like the T-800 that tried to kill his mother. If you don't know what happens from there on, you probably need to go watch it. Directed by James Cameron, who was actually married to Catherine Bigelow, the director of the movie in our number 3 spot, Point Break, and released 7 years after the original, T2 was and still is a beloved sci-fi movie that holds up pretty well. The visual effects for the film were ahead of their time, which is a common occurrence we see in a lot of Cameron's movies. Especially impressive were the liquid metal effects of the T-1000. It goes without saying that this film was a box office success. $519 million is a lot of moolah, but it's probably good that it raked in that much since its budget was $100 million. It wasn't just successful in the wallets of all involved. It was also critically successful. Ed Travis of Synapse captures how I think most people felt about the follow-up film. In arguably one of the greatest sequels ever made, Terminator 2 builds itself upon a few key ideas that upend the audience's expectations and work like gangbusters with industry-altering technological execution. Well said. So that wraps up our list of the top 3 movies of 1991. What do you think? Do you agree with them? Instead of yelling at your phone or other listening device in disagreement, why not head on over to Facebook and search Hella 90s? Find the post about this episode and let us know what you think. Also, if you're looking for some more fun, check out the other podcasts offered by the Scratch Podcast Network, including the original Scratch Podcast and Trampled Underfoot. Thanks for hanging out with us a little bit, guys. Now go have a hella good day.